Okay, good day. So I'm spending a lot of time in the car, and I thought, let me utilize it and do a recording. So without a doubt, I can drive easily. I know where I'm going and record at the same time. So I want to discuss a lesson from Rebbe Nachman. I forgot which lesson number it is. I might put it in the description. He mentions humility. Now, humility is a fascinating topic, and Rabbi Nachman places a tremendous amount of emphasis on humility and the spiritual effects it has. We can discuss in another class, but I want to discuss the 4 types of humility that we should obviously try all 4 types of these humility. Blined, I can do another recording another time about the Mittler Rebbe based on the Alter Rebbe and their take on humility. It's not a contradiction, it's just a different perspective. But the humility by Rabbi Nachman is 4 levels. So first of all, to be humbled by somebody greater than you. Let's go through them all briefly. To be humbled by somebody greater than you. Then it is to be humbled by somebody on your level. Then it is to be humbled by somebody lower than you. Then it is to think of yourself lower than what you believe you truly are. So let's go through one by one. I kind of link the first 3 together, and the last one is its own category. So the first 3 is really saying, imagine you have a rabbi, a teacher, a great teacher and scholar. So you believe they're greater than you, but you've got to believe they're so much greater than you that every word they say is just holiness, and you can learn and gain from them. And when they're teaching a lesson, you might think, I've heard this before. Don't think that. Don't think I've heard this before. Say, you know what, I want to hear and learn every word they're saying. I want to learn and hear and internalize what they're saying. That's just a brief understanding of that. Then you have somebody on the same level as you. Maybe you're having a discussion, a debate. They're on the same level as you. They give it an opinion. You don't think their opinion is as valid as your opinion. So be humble and say, you know what, they have an opinion. Their opinion is correct. I need to regard their opinion very highly. As much as my rabbis even. Regard their opinion very highly and respect their opinion very much. Then you could have somebody very lowly. It's completely relative. In your eyes, they're lower than you. So, in your eyes, what do? Usually a person thinks of somebody lower, you don't really necessarily regard their opinion, what they think. So, one of the tikkunim for this, one of the corrections is to regard them as a colleague. What that means is that to regard what they are saying, to take into consideration their thoughts and their opinions. Don't disregard it. It's just one way of looking at it. These are the first 3 categories. Then we have the 4th category. The 4th category, to me, is the most fascinating, because the Alter Rebbe clearly states, again, not a contradiction, clearly states that the middle path that we should strive towards is the path where we acknowledge the truth. So that means if I do have strengths, I acknowledge them, and so too with the weaknesses. If I have weaknesses, which everyone does, I acknowledge them. How much are my weaknesses? How good are my strengths? I acknowledge all of that. So now Rabbi Nachman even saying, do that. Acknowledge who you are. Acknowledge where you are holding. And be humble on that. Maybe a person can learn Torah very well. And they know they can, right? Why or how? Because maybe in their class they always succeeded better than their colleagues, whatever it may be. Doesn't really matter. But the idea is that then the person looks at themselves and looks at themselves as if they're not that great. So it's a paradoxical state where on the one hand, if they are great and they have the ability to learn and to teach, then they must learn and teach. But when they're learning and when they're teaching, they mustn't think they're great. They must know they're great just enough to do what is necessary for them to do according to their mission in this world, but that's where it ends. When they're actually doing it, and even in times when they're not doing it, they're not too worried. They're not too they don't put an emphasis to their greatness. Rather, they treat themselves as if they're lower than they really are. Maybe if someone's a Torah scholar, you got to treat the Torah scholar with respect, so they see in their eyes that they're deserving of respect. So they're now looking themselves as, I don't deserve respect. Why do I deserve respect? I'm just an average human. Yes, maybe deep down he knows and acknowledges and recognizes that he from his ability to learn is amazing. But at the end of the day, he doesn't have to give himself respect for that and kavod and honor. He doesn't have to. Why does he have to? He doesn't have to. And that's the fourth type of humility. In a way, I think it's potentially the most important type of humility. That's my opinion. That's not what Rabbi Nachman saying. That's completely my own wording. So that's the brief understanding of humility. And for me personally, humility is an unbelievably powerful faculty, exceptionally difficult to work on, but unbelievably powerful. And one last thing I want to say on the fourth category is that you can't treat yourself significantly lower than you are. So in other words, if somebody can learn Torah very well, and somebody else says, can you learn Torah? You can't say, no, I can't. You can't do that. That's not humility. That's off the chart. That's just falsehood. Then you say, I can learn a little or whatever. It might seem like false humility or whatever. So, tzarich yun, as they say, we need to look into it more, and you need to discuss it with your Rav, with your mashpia, with the person who you speak to about these type of things. But the concept is that if you are really good at learning Torah, you can't deny it, and you can't deny it to others, but you can be humble about it. You can lower your greatness in your own eyes about it. And therefore, when you're speaking to others, you can lower your greatness, how you view yourself to others. And it's not lying, it's being humble. Because the truth is, even though you might be great, you don't have to view yourself as being great. That's also true. You don't have to view yourself as being great. Someone asks you, can you learn? Say, I can learn a bit. Or you answer, I've had experience in your shiva for 3 years, whatever the case may be. You get what I'm saying? You don't have to say, I'm the best learner around, I was the top of my class. You see the difference? You don't have to say that. You see, okay, so anyways, kol hakavod, have a good one, and please God, Mashiach will come now.